Ladies and gentlemen, Bay Area listeners, thank you. Welcome back to the Consumer Quarterback Show. I'm your host for the day, Alex Lima, Alex BlackBelt Lima, BlackBelt Fitness and Martial Arts, filling in for your typical host, the Consumer Quarterback himself, Brandon Rhymes. He's not in the office today, and he got the crazy idea to let me sit behind the chair and the mic. Let's see what happens, right? But before we get started, we got Mark Haye here in the building. You know, he always drops some awesome financial knowledge and wisdom. He's our sage for all things trying to help us to learn how to win the fight against, the financial restraints and handcuffs that the powers that be would like to put on us. So we're gonna learn how to win the fight against that. But before we drop to Mark Haye, let's go ahead and showcase some of the properties available to you from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. We have 5146 Marine Parkway. This is a commercial property in Newport Richey. It's an exceptional storefront space. It looks like it used to be a pool and spa supply store. It's large windows, which invites natural light. You have an open and versatile floor plan that can be tailored to suit your business. So it's the actual building that's for sale, the property, not the actual pool business. It's strategically positioned where there's tons of foot traffic and there's lots of people driving by, obviously, in Newport Richey. It's an excellent accessibility. Public transport hubs and major roadways are in close proximity. Neighborhood mix of locals and tourists that are eager to explore. And new condos are being built across the street, so lots of potential there. 5146 Marine Parkway in Newport Richey, Florida. We also have 11722 County Road 672. This is one of my favorite properties that we have available from the Platinum MVP team. It's in Riverview, Florida. It's a fully equipped farm that encompasses 19.73 acres, so just shy of 20 acres. 3 bedrooms, two bathrooms. It's got a crafted open floor plan, but it's pretty wild because it can also serve as a commercial type property as well because it's expansive. It has a 40 by 100 warehouse on the premises, ample storage for your farming needs, and it has a refrigerated trailer for a semi. 11722 County Road 672. Check that property out. You can see all the properties available to you from the Platinum MVP team at platinumcoastalelite.com. Buy dirt. Buy dirt. Find one you can't live without. That's it. Buy dirt. We got dirt for sale too. Mark Haye, good to see you, man.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm glad to have you back hosting again. You always do a great job.
Oh, thanks, man. It's always fun. It's always fun getting to talk to you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So what's been going on in your world?
Man, lots of things. I actually just recently came back from, had a team of my kids. We had like 5, not my personal kids. I don't have 5, 6 kids. Not that I know of. But we have kids that I train, in jiu-jitsu. And me and the other coach, Professor Delgado over at American Top Team, we took some kids to compete this past weekend. And some of them is their very first time competing. And then some of them are kind of like in the advanced, brackets and stuff. We took it was 5 kids and one of our adult class guys, and man, we made the podium every single one of them. Like we smoked through a lot of people.
Congratulations!
Yeah, second place, third place, and which is nuts. I mean, these brackets are huge, man. If you ever see this stuff, we got one kid specifically. He fought he had 10 matches. Can you imagine
in one weekend?
One day.
Wow.
This is one day. You show up, you weigh in, you make weight, and then you look at your bracket and you're like, well, there's like 30 of us in here. Let's see what happens.
Wow,
and then,
good for him.
Yeah, you imagine and really good kid too. Very proud of him. Focused, disciplined, good family. But the animal he's going to be if he keeps that up. You know what it is? I mean, I don't know if myself at 9 years old, 10 years old could have walked up and fought 10 dudes in one day.
Yeah, that's amazing. God bless his parents for letting him do it too.
Absolutely.
We still want to see you fight again coming up. I hope
man,
soon.
I'm trying to get something here real soon. I promise. You'll be the first to know. I'll hit you up.
I appreciate that.
It's time, baby. Show up.
That's I appreciate that. We'll bring the whole crew.
Yeah, load up the Chevy, man.
There you go.
It's time to ride out. Let's
go.
Good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. Well, I wanted to kind of just talk to you about my whole mantra about creating passive income. Cash flow. It's not really about accumulation, but cash flow and stop tipping the IRS. And how do we do that? And so I wanted to just kind of touch base on credit card debt and mortgage.
Yeah.
Because I get a lot of questions on how to pay off debt or should I pay it off? How do we do it in a way that makes sense?
What's the appropriate strategy?
You got
the best strategy?
And here we are today when people are struggling to make ends meet with the mortgage or the credit card debt now that they're at. And so we look at all this stuff. So the biggest thing I always tell people is we don't want to enrich banks, financial institutions, government anymore. All right, we want to enrich individuals, but we want to use the banks and we want to use the government. We want to use them like they have been using us.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
So the biggest thing is, I'm just going to talk about the mortgage first, and we'll kind of get into credit cards. Okay? So I had a lady call me up, a client of mine, and she said, I'm going to go buy this home, $500,000, and I've got $300,000 in my bank account. And this is not including her retirement accounts, but she has $300,000 of just lazy money in the bank account, and she's going to put $300,000 down and just mortgage the rest. And I said, okay, that's one option. It's certainly an option, okay? But let's say worst case scenario, you can't make that mortgage payment anymore.
Yeah.
What happens? The bank keeps your $300,000.
Yeah, you got to eat that.
And they get the property. So who did you enrich? You know, you made yourself cash poor. Now you're house poor because they took the house. And I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I'm just saying worst case
there's
scenario.
Always a potential. We didn't expect a pandemic, and look what happens.
Yeah.
And I couldn't imagine tying up $300,000 like
you got
that.
it.
You know, but I get it. Like she thought it's less payment. I'm going to pay this off quickly, type deal.
Right, and
but
just
you're still tying up $300,000.
Think how we're taught. My parents, even grandparents, you know, pay your mortgage off as fast as possible.
Make bigger payments.
Be debt free. Be debt free. You know, put your money in a 401k. And here I am saying, wait a second, let's just think about this for a minute. You're only enriching a bank.
Yeah.
You know, because what are they going to do? They're going to take your $300,000 and they're going to lend it out to a small business, a mortgage, a bridge loan. They're going to do things to develop what? Income. All they care about is the income coming into their firm. So I'm telling you, why don't you do the same thing the bank's going to do? Okay? And she says to me, oh, the interest rate's going to be high. And I say, okay, well, let's just look at it like this. Okay? If I said to you, and every answer is the same. If I said to you, I'm going to give you a loan for 0%, how much are you going to take? You're going to take as much as you can get.
Yep.
I'll take all of it. You know, okay, how fast you want to pay me off?
Yeah.
Never. I mean, 0%, I'll just keep that forever.
It's risk-free.
Okay?
Yeah,
So if you understand that, and if I said, okay, now what, 1%, would you do it? 2%, would you do it? You how far would you go?
Right. Where's your comfort level with that?
Everybody's different.
Sure.
Okay, so if you say to me, okay, my mortgage is going to be 8%, and I say to you, okay, great, 8%. What if we could go out and make 10% a year on this money? Okay, so we take the $300,000 and we say we're going to make 10%. That's 2% positive cash flow every single year. Okay, so if your mortgage is $2,000, but we're bringing in $3,000, okay, we can go and pay the bank and still have a positive cash flow.
Yeah.
All right, and everybody gets opportunities in their life for investments that come along. Everybody has an opportunity, multiple opportunities in your lifetime.
Yeah.
The problem is most people don't have the cash available to pounce on the opportunity.
Or the know-how.
Because they gave it to institutions, and they're the ones that went and pounced on the opportunity because they got your cash and they made themselves rich from your cash and your cash poor.
Definitely.
Okay? So I said to her, I said, look, if we do this correctly, I can get you 10% a year. Safely. We could do this. Okay? And we're going to grow that account more than what your mortgage is. So if you're owing $24,000 a year on your mortgage payment, and I'm giving you $30,000 a year, okay, that's $6,000 positive, and we're going to just kind of keep reinvesting it. So that $300,000 is paying the mortgage, and it's growing. Okay. Now you look at the inflation. Inflation's crazy today.
Yes.
But what's cool is when you have a 30-year mortgage, that payment stays the same every month.
Yes.
Okay. As
long as you went with a locked-in mortgage, you didn't go with.
So as the years go on and inflation continues to grow, your payment gets less and less to you.
Yeah.
You know, 2,000 today is a lot different than 2,000 a month 5-10 years from now.
For sure.
It feels a lot less.
For sure.
But now that 300,000 is growing, and as that grows and you're paying that mortgage over time, you're going to get to the point where that is going to be more than what you have accumulated more than what you owe. And then you could say at that point, okay, I'm going to stroke a check and just pay this off. You could do that, okay? But the point is you kept your money along the way. It grew. It paid the mortgage. We still achieved the same results. But let's say something comes along where you can get into a business, or you want to buy a building, or I want to get an Airbnb, or I want to do anything.
Right.
You have your money available to you to go do that opportunity. Whether it's, let's just use another property. I'm going to buy another investment property. I'm going to Airbnb that because I can get 15 to 16% a year on my investment if I do that.
And it's liquid, ready for you to pull?
Great. It's liquid, ready to go.
Yeah.
Now you have your house that we've been paying on. You have a second additional property that is now positive cash flowing you another $3,000 or $4,000 a month because you pay cash for that property. Okay? And now all of a sudden your cash flow went from what I was giving you, $1,000 a month, to $4,000 a month of cash flow.
Yeah.
Plus, you have an extra asset where the bank is going to go do that. They're going to go do that anyways with your money.
Yeah.
You know, so you be the bank and use them. And then what's really cool is
it's
you
hilarious
can say,
that you're banking the bank.
You're use
banking
them.
You're
we
banking
know the
bank.
rules, so let's use them.
Yeah, because they're going to do it to you.
You got it. So the opportunity came, you did it. Now your portfolio is growing. It's expanding. Your cash flow is expanding. Your life is enriching. You're doing things that you love. You're not scrimping, saving, budgeting, trying to pay the bank off. You're living within your means instead of expanding your means. You're doing everything that I tell you to do. You want to live your life. You don't want to just give it to the institutions, give the government, and then hope that it all works out and just scrimp by.
Yep.
Okay?
You're gaining assets, financial freedom, obtaining wealth. Sounds like you're winning there.
You're
at that
winning.
Point.
You're using the institution. They're not using you anymore. Okay? And what's really cool is you say, okay, and down the road you bought that property, and let's say interest rates go down again, 4%, 5%, and you say, okay, I'm going to go refinance my house, or I'm going to take out a mortgage on this new property that I paid cash for at 3%. We take that money and we go buy another property, or we invest that, or we do something. But you get my point, how fast you can make this work in a 5, 7, 10-year period. Right. Yeah. Or give it to the bank and scrimp and save and budget, and then hopefully you can pay that off in 12, 15 years. And then what? Whereas if you did it my way, 15 years from now, if you do it my way, you might have 5, 6 properties. You might have $1 million sitting in your investment account or your retirement account. You get my point. You've lived your life for 15 years. You traveled. You've done it because you have the money to do stuff now, and you're not giving it to institutions.
Yep.
And then I say to him, okay, let's say you and your neighbor, side by side, exact same houses, exact same mortgages, exact same jobs, everything's the same. Mm-hmm. You pay extra. They pay the minimum. Something happens to both of you and you guys can't pay your mortgage anymore. Which house does the bank go after first? They go after the one with the most equity because they can dump that, get their money back, and they're going to work with the one that just paid the minimum because it's the least amount of equity.
They're going to keep them hooked on the line longer.
You got it. So if you can understand that, you can rig it in your favor and say, okay, well, I'm going to just pay the minimum, or whatever that is, and I'm going to invest my money, keep my money, and make it work for me, enjoy my money, not give it to the institutions for them to enjoy it. Yeah. So then you can go do that. And we look at what's called cash flow index. Mm-hmm. Okay? And a cash flow index is very, very simple. You take your principal and you divide it by your minimum monthly payment. Not what you're paying, but your minimum monthly payment. Okay? So if you had $100,000, it's very simple. If you had a $100,000 loan and your minimum payment's $1,000,
yep.
Okay? That's 100. So you take 100 divided by 1,000, that equals 100. If you're 100 and over, you're in a very good situation. Your cash flow is good. If you're under 50, okay, then it's okay. We got to start paying this thing off. We got some work to do.
Yeah.
Between 50 and 100 in that cash flow index is like an average. Like okay, but if you're under 50, we got to start paying this off. If you're over 100, you never don't pay that off because you're killing it with your cash flow.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yeah.
So we look at all that. And people understand it. Now, she got it, and she's like, okay, yeah, you're right. I'm going to just invest this money. We're going to turn around and pay the bank, and why would I enrich them? And I want to do things anyways. You're right. I want to go maybe get an investment property with this money. And she's just sitting on the cash.
Yeah.
Like, why would you not go do something? But it brings me to another thing now when I always say personal finance should be personal.
So even real quick question. So I'm tracking with you with the part where we got to where in the future after we've done this we can refi. The refi is still from yourself as well?
So, for example, let's say she got a mortgage for 8%.
Okay.
Okay. Just a couple of years ago, it was 2% for a mortgage.
Yeah.
Let's say it does it again. Let's say 5, 6, 7 years from now, it goes down to 3, 4%. Hey, why don't you go refinance? Basically, cut your monthly thing in half.
Yeah.
And then you have this other property or this equity that's been building. Why don't you take it out? Because that money is so cheap.
Yes.
You could probably take out double what you did 5 years ago because the interest rate's cut in half. And then we'll take that money and, again, invest it, put it somewhere, make it work. Again, you're using the bank. Yep. You're using them.
Yeah.
They're not using you anymore.
Which is the way it should be intended instead of like they're using us constantly.
Right. That's why I always tell people, remember when you were a kid, you go to the bank and you walk out and they give you a sucker?
Yeah.
Because the bank was like, sucker.
Yeah,
got you.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Got you.
Nothing is free, guys. I mean, that's why, like, hey, sign up at our bank, start a checking account. We'll give you $300 just for signing up today. Why do you think they're doing that?
Right.
It's a bait, man.
Of
course they want you to bank with them because they know that they can play you later on.
You got it. But now, I will say, because it's personal finance is personal, and if you and the wife, not you, Alex, but I'm just saying, a husband and wife, if you guys are fighting and losing sleep over this mortgage,
sure.
and the one spouse wants to pay it off and the other one doesn't, and you guys are just pay it off.
Yeah.
I mean,
in the end, you need peace of mind.
You need peace.
In the end.
You know what I mean? And money and everything like that. That's like one of the number one things of divorce, anyways, is money.
Yeah.
And fighting about it.
Yeah.
Stress. And that's where we come in and say, look, we can do it this way or that. I don't care. And here's the data, and we can go through cash flow index, and this is why it makes sense to not pay it off. But if you guys are fighting and you guys are causing disruptions inside your relationship and marriage, just pay it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then we'll do something different,
Yeah.
with it. Because money's not ever going to be worth that relationship or that marriage or that family. So let's just pay it off.
Yeah, money shouldn't destroy you. It should enrich you.
You got it.
Yeah,
but this is
sure.
where you sit down with an advisor or just anybody that can sit down and have this conversation with you and say, look, these are your options. You can certainly make the bank rich by all means, give them the money. Or we can be the bank. And we can use them, and we can make you rich and make you wealthy, and then we can move forward doing that. You know what I mean? So it's just a conversation to have for people, but don't people take loan as a bad thing. So when you say I'm in debt, and I say, okay, well, tell me about your debt. Okay, well, we owe $250,000 on our home. Okay, what's the home worth? $1 million. Okay, you're not in debt.
Yeah.
You're in equity.
Yeah.
You have $750,000 in equity. You are not in debt.
You got some value sitting on tap there.
You got it. Now, if you reversed it, I have $1 million mortgage and it's only worth $250,000. You're in debt.
You're doing bad.
You're in debt. So debt, people just hear debt and just think, I have a loan, I'm in debt, I got to pay up. No, you're not. You're in equity. You're in equity. You're in equity. You're positive.
People have been trained. It's a trigger word for people now. The way that it's always pushed upon you. Lawyers on TV, you're in debt, declare bankruptcy now. We'll save you. Like, you hear that word and it triggers for most people the response of like, it's end of times. But then, you talk to, the people that are playing on a different level. They're like, no, we want this. We want loans. We want to do this.
Right.
We want to use other people's money to make money, bro.
Well, you got different people like Dave Ramsey and Susie Orman, or just they hammer home, pay off your debt, pay off sooner than later. Just pay it off, and sacrifice your whole life to do that.
They're working for the man.
You got it. But then you get like people like who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and
Robert Kiyosaki.
There you go.
Yeah.
He's all about that. You know what I mean? Because he's in real estate. You should leverage money, use other people's money to go, make your life a little bit richer. And he understands debt. You know what I mean?
That it's not a negative. You have to learn how to weaponize it and use it to your advantage.
And if you can take somebody else's money and you can make more than that interest, whether it's your business, hiring an employee, if you buy another investment property, or I want to invest it in a bridge loan with the contractors. We have contractors that give 10% every 90 days to clients that will do a bridge loan. So instead of them going to the bank and going through that process and paying 18 to 36% for that bridge loan, they'll work with clients and use their money and give them 10% every 90 days.
Yeah, it sounds like a win-win. They can make that happen. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back with Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial. He's got some good stuff for us. When we come back, let's touch on, so we've talked about mortgages. Let's see what we can do about winning the fight against credit cards. Coming back, consumerqbshow.com. Do not touch that dial.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get in touch with Brandon, call 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider who shares your values. They offer the very best nationwide coverage on 4G and 5G LTE networks and exceptional 100% US-based customer support. Patriot Mobile offers discounts for veterans and first responders, NRA members, and families with multiple lines. Learn more at patriotmobile.com/consumer QB. That's patriotmobile.com/consumer QB. Or if you'd like to give us a call, you can reach out at 727-263-3707. That's 727-263-3707. And we'd be happy to tell you more about Patriot Mobile. Selling commercial, vacant land, or residential properties? Don't leave money on the table. List with the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. I'm Brandon Rhymes. You can reach me at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. Online at consumerqb.com.
You're listening to the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes, cutting through your typical media nonsense and offering you a rational and unbiased perspective on current events and life in Tampa Bay. Online at consumerqb.com.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking with us here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. We have Mark Haye here in the building giving us a wealth of knowledge, no pun intended, or maybe slight pun, I guess, wealth of knowledge. But before we get back to Mark Haye telling us how to win the fight against mortgage debt, credit card debt, how to gain financial freedom, let's talk about one of the properties available from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams. We have 7300 Shoreline Boulevard. This is in Weeki Wachee, Florida. This is a very interesting property. It's a commercial property with a residential lot included with it. It has 5 fully furnished waterfront suites. They're all kayaks and furnishings are included. So this used to be like a little hotel by Weeki Wachee there that you can stay there, almost like an awesome Airbnb opportunity there with kayaks and like little just like fun by the water there. You can just have a good time. It's got it's right next to Pine Island Beach, which is a very nice little clean little beach, and the community of local restaurants, bars, and live music. Pristine sunsets there on Weeki Wachee. Listen, the possibilities are infinite, and the location is premier. So 7300 Shoreline Boulevard, Weeki Wachee, Florida. You can see that property and all the others that are available from the Platinum MVP team at platinumcoastalelite.com. Mark Haye, let's get back to it, man. So how do we employ some of these strategies to win against credit card debt?
Yep, there you go. So then I'll just kind of piggyback what we were just talking about. So like I was mentioning, I got contractors, builders that utilize other people and give you good return. But the biggest thing is people are your biggest asset, not a mutual fund. I talk about it in an investment, okay? So when you go and say, look, I got this 20% credit card debt, and I say to you, okay, but you have how much in your IRA or your 401k, okay? Can we go off and make 20% or 25% a year on your investment? Can we? I don't think we can. Unless you're going to go into something a little riskier or whatever that may be. It may make more sense to take money out of that 401k or IRA via a loan or via 72T or whatever that may be, pay off that credit card debt. Mm-hmm. Because you just establish a 20% return by paying off a 20% interest rate on a credit card debt.
You got to have more cash on tap. You got to find the ways to have more cash on hand so that you
increase
can
your cash flow.
Yes.
And then lastly, you hear people say, I got a 0% credit card debt and this one's 20%, so I'm going to put extra towards the 20%. And I say, yeah, that's normal. I get that. But how long is it going to take you to pay that off? If you had a 0% interest rate, you might be able to pay off in 6 months. Attack that one. Once that's paid off, and then you take all that money you're putting in towards the big one, and then you could do it quicker. But you hear the mindset of pay the bigger one off first. Yeah, not all the time that works.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because if you have one that's 1% or 2%, you could pay that off in 6 months. Do that as fast as possible, then take all that money you're putting into that one and pay off the big credit card debt.
And also back to if it's stressing you out while you're doing it because, man, I can't do anything, and like you're hating life, like that's no way to live either.
Yeah, it's no way to live, and especially losing sleep over it just is not fun. But there's ways. Like I said, if you took a loan on your 401k, you can loan it to yourself at 5%. Okay, so you pay yourself back at 5% opposed to paying the credit card 20%. It makes sense. Or you could say I have an IRA. I'm under 59.5, 72T it. We won't even have to pay a penalty anymore. Yeah, you got to pay the taxes, but guess what? You don't have 20% anymore on an interest rate. So think about it. If you don't pay that off, every dollar you spend costs you $1.20 because 20% of that is going to be interest on that credit card that you can't pay off, and you're buried in it, and it just keeps going and going and going. And that's how people lose relationships and marriages because that stuff snowballs, and you have no idea how to fix it. So I'm just telling you, we got to look at cash flow index. There's different strategies we can do. Just sit down with us. We do more than just financial plan. We do everything. As far as do we pay the mortgage off? How do we do it? Credit card debt? Where's the cash flow? How do we increase our cash flow? Etc. So we definitely work with people. But again, it's all about cash flow. It's not about accumulation 30 years from now. It's about cash flow today, improving your life, having a solid life that you're proud of, that you want to go and live, and you can't wait to get up in the morning and enjoy it. You know what I mean? So just call us anytime. And my number is 727-804-7220.
Awesome. Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial. You heard it here. Reach out to him. Talk to his team. He literally has a think tank there that will sit with you and help you break the chains of the financial pressure that you're feeling. All right? Be free. Be free. Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial. Thank you, man, for coming on the show today and blessing our listeners with your knowledge.
Thank you.
Yep. Thanks for being with us. Great show. We had Michael Johnson, Dennison Yachting. You got Mark Haye, 21st Century Financial. Check out all of our cool show partners on consumerqb.com. See you next time.
You've been listening to The Consumer Quarterback.